Okay, thank you for attending the Montclair City Council meeting. We'll call this meeting to order, and we'll begin the meeting with the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance. And Andrea, I'll let you allow to announce those individuals.
Invocation will be given by Diana Delgado, Chaplain of the Streets, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilmember Rue.
Please stand. Diana, come on down.
Praise the Lord, everybody. Heavenly Father, as we gather here today, we ask for your guidance and your wisdom as we begin this meeting. Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity we have to serve our community. We ask for your presence here tonight to fill this room with your perfect peace. Bless our mayor, city council members, staff, and all who work to keep our city safe and strong. Grant our leaders discernment and wisdom, the courage to make decisions that honor you, and the grace to act in unity even when disagreements arise. Let this time be productive and focused on the true needs of our city. Tonight we stand on 1 Corinthians 14:40. Let all things be done decently and in order. Bless our city, Lord. May Montclair be the light on the hill. In your precious name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Please join me as we salute the flag of our nation. And may we always remember the founding principles and our Constitution. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Diana, thank you for coming today. I know that not only you're a Montclair resident, but also you have a nonprofit in Montclair where you're helping families. So thank you. Okay, we'll begin next with presentations. We have two presentation items. We'll begin with the introduction of a new Public Works employee, and then we'll have a proclamation after that. So,
Could I do the roll call before you?
roll call.
To make sure you're all here.
Go ahead. I think we're all here.
Councilmember Mendez,
Here.
Member Lopez,
Here.
Councilmember Rue,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez, here, and Mayor Dutray. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll do the presentation. Come on down, folks. And Monica, if you want to go to the mic.
Hey, good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, staff, and the public. It is my pleasure to introduce Aaron Pearson, our new Public Works Inspector. Yes. Aaron has 5 years of related experience in the private sector, primarily in asphalt paving, concrete improvements, and restoration projects. Through his field experience, he has developed a strong foundation in quality control, project coordination, and ensuring work is completed to specifications. Prior to his time in the private sector, Aaron worked for approximately 8 years at Harley-Davidson in Montclair, giving him valuable familiarity with the community. Aaron takes pride in doing things the right way and looks forward to contributing to projects that serve residents and support the city of Montclair's standards and long-term goals. He's married to Erin, and they have 2 wonderful kids, a 7-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son. They enjoy being outdoors and off-roading in their Jeep. And Aaron also enjoys playing golf and hockey as much as his wife will allow. So help me again to welcome Aaron to the team.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we have a proclamation. Is there someone accept this proclamation, Andrea? Somebody in the audience accepted?
Yes,
There-
Ashley Brookshire is here.
Is Ashley here? come on down, Ashley. Don't be shy to the podium. Or actually, come over here on this side first, and then we'll go to then you can speak up the podium if you wish to do so. But tonight we're going to honor Child Abuse Prevention Month here in the April of 2026 in the city of Montclair. As you know, that it's important that our children are protected and make sure they're not being abused by members of the public. And so this is a great opportunity for us today to recognize Ashley and her group, and also recognizing that we believe that the protecting our children, protecting them from abuse is extremely important. I think everybody in the audience will agree with that. So on behalf of the city of Montclair, I'd like to recognize April 2026 as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Here it is.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, and the public for the City of Montclair for declaring April as Child Abuse Prevention Month in your city. Child abuse comes in many forms and may include physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, and neglect. We recognize the detrimental effects that child abuse and neglect have not only on the victim's health and well-being, but on the health of our communities. Studies such as the Adverse Childhood Experiences, or ACEs, demonstrate that children who experience severe adversity and maltreatment are far more likely to experience negative health and behavioral health outcomes later on in life. We all benefit when our children have safe, stable, and nurturing environments that help prevent ACEs and eminently promote positive childhood experiences. Suspected child abuse can be anonymously reported by calling the Child Abuse Hotline at 800-827-8724. Each one of you serves as the eyes and ears to your community. It only takes a minute to make a call that might help a child or a family in need. And just from a data perspective, child abuse referrals received in the San Bernardino County as a whole for 2025, there were 30,545 referrals in the county of San Bernardino in 2025. And for the city of Montclair, there were 344. So just wanted to share that. And again, thank you very much for inviting me tonight and for proclaiming Child Abuse Prevention Month for Montclair. Thank you.
And our next presentation is going to be an announcement from Ruby Long from
Okay.
Supervisor Kurt Hagman's office.
Okay, we'll take Ruby Long for her presentation. Ruby, you're there?
Hi, good evening. Yes, I am. Once again, I'm Ruby Long with Supervisor Kurt Hagman's office. I just have a quick announcement that on March 27th, we're going to be hosting a low-cost spay, neuter, and vaccine clinic. The spay and neuter is only going to be $50. You must be registered for this event. Registration will open on March 20th at 10 a.m. And these appointments go by really fast. So try and log on as soon as possible and register. Once again, March 27th, and it's going to be at the Chino Valley YMCA. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruby.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, this next item is public comment. Obviously, this is an opportunity for members of the public to address the city council. If you wish to address the city council on the business item that's after the consent calendar, this is regarding the censorship item. We'll have comments at that time regarding that issue. If you wish to address the city council on either the consent calendar items, we'll do it under public comments. And if you wish to address the city council on anything else that's not on the agenda, we can also take that under public comments. You'll have 5 minutes. Any item that's not on the agenda, the city council is not able to respond to. And I'll ask the city clerk if she has any speakers.
First, I have a written comment that was submitted for general public comment from Tina Silva. It is time for the city council to speak and take a stand on immigration enforcement in the city. We have seen Montclair police respond to an accident caused by ICE officers on Helena and Kingsley. The police managed to get in contact with ICE, which makes me question what kind of relationship officers in the city have with ICE. ICE detention is disproportionately high in Montclair compared to other cities. There have been 44 confirmed kidnappings, and we believe it's probably in upwards of 60. This means there have been 1.1 kidnappings per 1,000 people in the city. This is a public health crisis. A gentleman was detained by ICE in October after claiming he looked like someone they sought. He was held in detention for 4 months, and shortly after his release, he died. This is taking a tremendous toll on our community. I implore you to take a stand against the illegal ICE enforcement experienced by our community. And that was the written comment.
Thank
And
you.
then for our first speaker, we have Alex Lopez.
Hello, Alex.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Alex. I'm an outreach specialist for Reach Out. Reach Out is a nonprofit organization that works to serve Montclair and the Inland Empire for over 50 years. My work focuses on substance use prevention, and I'm speaking tonight to draw attention to a dangerous substance that is currently being sold in liquor and smoke shops, including Montclair. I'm referring to 7-hydroxymitragynine, most known as 7-OH, or as it is being called, gas station heroin. 7-OH is an opioid that anyone can buy without a prescription, including children. Without any regulation, kids in our community have increased access to an opioid-like substance. 7-OH has not been approved by the FDA, nor is it prescribed by doctors. Rather, they are being marketed as natural energy and mood enhancers. 7-OH come in pill, powder, drink, vape, and gummy forms and variations. And how it works is 7-OH binds to the receptors in the brain, providing users with a sense of euphoria or comfort. People are becoming addicted to 7-OH. People can overdose on 7-OH. People can and have died as a direct result of consuming 7-OH. As it stands, there is no state legislation banning or regulating 7-OH products. However, our neighbors in LA County, Orange, and Riverside County all have enacted 7-OH regulations. My team would be more than happy to meet with you to further discuss this emerging substance that is being found in our community. I will be present afterwards to connect with folks who would like more information. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Well, thank you. If you want to email us some information about that or my office, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sir, do you have a card? Can you leave it with staff?
Okay.
Again,
It should be in the
you can
folder.
email the entire city council, and feel free to provide the information. We'll take a look at it. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Veronica.
Hello. Good evening. 1 second. Okay. I am here to demand that the City of Montclair create a fund for families affected by ICE kidnappings so they can get access support when primary earners are taken from them. 2, establish and enforce a policy that bans ICE from staging on city property like other cities have done. 3, prohibit city contracts with contractors that provide services or goods for data collection with immigration enforcement agencies. 4, find out why the neighborhood of Monte Vista to Mills, from Kingsley to Holt, has been targeted so much and demand accountability from ICE. ICE must stop endangering our community with its reckless behavior. I would also like to tie in how this affects child abuse. The ICE detention centers are neglecting children's health, their parents' health, and so much chances for child abuse to be happening in there. and the kids are super nervous, stressed out at school, can't focus. Teachers are stressed out at school, dealing with behaviors. Everything that is going on with ICE is super detrimental to Montclair. I would also like to, no, that's about it. So yes, if you can meet those 4 demands, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Priscilla.
Good evening, council members and community. My name is Priscilla, and I'm a concerned neighbor, a local volunteer, and a proud graduate of Montclair High School, just down the street. I'm here today because the officials and law enforcement of the city have been silent for far too long on issues related to CBP and ICE, and speaking up for at least 3 reasons. Since June 2025, as has been mentioned, at least 44 people have been kidnapped in Montclair. I know that this number might seem like it's not a lot because we hear other places with numbers in the hundreds. But when you think about how small the city of Montclair is, and I know Tina mentioned it earlier, it's disproportionate. There is 1.1 person taken for every 1,000 people in the city of Montclair. Of those, the majority are taken from 6 blocks between Monte Vista and Ramona, between Holt and Kingsley. You might be wondering why a neighbor is here and why people from that community are not here. There's fear for them even leaving their home. So I need you to hear that again. 1.1 people are being taken for every 1,000. In comparison, the city of Ontario, it's 0.2 kidnappings for every 1,000 people. In Pomona, 0.4 kidnappings for every 1,000 people. Both of those cities have made national news. Montclair has not. Why? For 9 months, our community members have not been able to sleep in peace. Every morning, they wake up with the fear that a neighbor, a family member, a random person down the street is going to be taken at their doorstep, particularly at the intersection of Bandera and Monte Vista behind Montera Elementary School. Parents are afraid to take their children to school, particularly at Saturday school. So when you sit here and you declare April awareness for child abuse, you need to make those ties to the ways that we are complicit when we don't speak up, for the ways that ICE is contributing to early childhood abuse, to ACEs. Children aren't able to learn, they're not eating properly because there isn't food at home, and they're exhibiting stress exorbitantly. The actions taken by ICE pose a public safety and public health issue. Not only does their erratic and reckless driving lead to accidents, such as the one that was mentioned earlier, the overwhelming stress and anxiety that they are imposing on our families and neighbors is reaching a point that overwhelms our nervous systems, mental health, and even leads to death. I would argue that that's what took our family member, Irving, a few days ago. While other city councils have at least started to acknowledge this crisis, we have yet to hear anything from you. Instead, we experience ICE roaming through Montclair undeterred. The police pass by and just acts like they don't see what's happening when these masked men are terrorizing us. Police were called, as was mentioned before, and they had no problem reaching ICE officials immediately and asking, where's the driver of the vehicle? And I wish I had the officer's name right here, was like, they say they don't have the person. I don't trust ICE. ICE lies, right? So what are you all doing? What's your relationship like with ICE? I'd like to know that. That day they impounded the family's work vehicle. Montclair PD said there was nothing they could do, and that caused further stress and financial hardship to the family. And we see this happening continuously in those particular 6 blocks. Not only does ICE terrorize the community, they park behind Target to stage and transfer people. They leave cars abandoned along Arrow and have also staged along Mills. We know that SB 54 prohibits local law enforcement from collaborating with ICE, but again, what does that actually look like? Why do they roam free, violate laws, and endanger us? Their tint is so dark, you don't know who's in there. Their license plates aren't there. If I were to do that, I'd be pulled over multiple times, right? So where are the laws? Where do they apply and where do they not? At least show up and ask what's happening. So like my friends, I make this call to you, 4 demands. create a fund for families affected by ICE kidnappings, raids, so they can access support when needed, particularly when primary earners are taken from them. Establish and enforce a policy that bans ICE from staging on city property, like other cities have done, including Jurupa Valley and Linwood. Prohibit city contracts that share data with ICE. We have enough, right? They can access our license plates. They can access our driver's licenses. Why do they need additional information from you all? And then find out why that neighborhood, those particular 6 blocks, are being harassed constantly, starting at 5 in the morning. ICE must stop endangering our community with its reckless behavior. And as a reminder, all systems of oppression are connected. I speak for my immigrant friends and families, those who can't be here right now. But I want to remind you that the things they face are things that are tied to the issues we face. They're inextricably tied. Nobody's illegal on stolen land. Black Lives Matter. Trans people have always existed.
Thank you. Your 5 minutes is up. Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
Okay, Bruce Culp, next speaker.
Conditionally offer our acceptance of the half-cent sales tax. It just seems like that's an entity that seems to be mismanaged very much for many years, taking away funds for the Gold Line, making this weird tunnel from the Metrolink station in Rancho Cucamonga to Ontario Airport for no reason. There's many bus lines that can handle it for just a couple $1,000. I really support that this and ask that you guys approve that resolution because you know, they really need to understand that their actions are causing you know, many dollars lost here in our city. And so we don't need to just hand over our approval of that half-cent sales tax as a city unless they agree to some conditions on our side. So I ask that you guys approve that item. Seems interesting that one of the, that they had $90 million for us, many years ago, and we're holding that money. Then a sexual harassment lawsuit came out, and now all of a sudden they dropped their support for us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Shirley M.
Hello, Shirley.
Good evening. My name is Shirley, and I am here to express my outrage and sadness about how many residents Montclair has lost to illegal federal immigration abductions, and the fact that you have stayed silent about it. As you've heard from my friends, at least 44 Montclair residents, but probably 60 or more, have been abducted by federal vigilantes since June last year. And that rate of abductions is extremely disproportionate to neighboring cities. It's more than twice as many people as have been taken in Pomona per capita and more than 5 times as many as Ontario. And also, like you heard, these thugs are targeting the same 6 square blocks from Amherst or Ramona to Monte Vista and from Holt to Kingsley, bringing dread, trauma, and chaos to that neighborhood again and again, often in the early morning hours. I know that because I've seen it many times as a legal observer in Montclair, and if you had seen our youth in Montclair just after their adult caregivers were ripped away from them, I don't know how you'd be able to stay silent. I will never forget it. They've gone into those streets, these goons with less training than our local PD, ripping people away from their families without a warrant right under the eyes of Montclair PD, assaulting US citizens in the street, trying to slap false charges on them, causing car and bike collisions, and most recently, most likely indirectly causing the death of a man only in his early 50s who didn't receive proper medical attention in Adelanto and died several days after he was released. Montclair residents need to see you take meaningful action to protect them and their constitutional rights, as is your charge to do as their elected officials. Explain why Montclair PD shows up at immigration abductions without demanding to see a warrant or hear probable cause. It's just racial profiling. Implement and enforce measures that other cities have taken, like creating a fund like Pomona has done for families whose income has been decimated by immigration detentions. Ban contracts with companies that share data with ICE. Ban ICE from staging on public land. Ask businesses to report when ICE is using their parking lots to conduct violations of your own residents' constitutional rights, as they have done repeatedly at Target on Central. Please wake up and show compassion for your constituents because they need you right now. Thank you.
You know, I've heard a number of allegations made, and these are allegations because none of this information has been brought to my attention, to the members of the city council. I don't have dates and times. I'm hearing about somebody dying in Adelanto. I'm not sure. It's the first time I've heard about this. So if you have information, including the number 44, I'm interested to know where that number came from. Please feel free to send that over to an email with the documentation. I don't even shake your hand and say no, but you know, if you're making some allegations and you need to prove it with background, with facts. I know can't say too much on the Brown Act, but personally, I am also very upset about what's happening when it comes to ICE activity. I think it's completely wrong. I think this nation needs an immigration reform, and I think the way this administration is handling this is completely wrong. You know, we are a local government. I have talked to Congresswoman Norma Torres about it. We have had conversations with 2 U.S. senators. They're very supportive of concern about what's happening here in Montclair, along with the cities here in California. This is a national issue, unfortunately. I agree with you. It's the wrong way to do it. But again, if you have factual information, please send it over to us. Give me some dates and times and locations and where all this took place. You know, these are allegations right now. They're allegations until I see some facts. Thank you. You've had your time to speak. We're going to move on. All right. So at this time, we're going to move on to the consent calendar.
I do have more.
Oh, you have another speaker? Okay.
I have 2 more.
Go ahead.
Well, first, Carolyn Raft had requested to speak. Were you going to speak on Lopez or something different? Okay, if you're going to speak on Lopez, then we're doing that under business. So Maria Sante.
Allegations? My name is Maria Sante. I am a U.S. citizen who lived in your city 6 months last year. Before I moved to El Monte, where I was raised my whole life. Were these allegations? You want to know why they're allegations? Because you haven't done your duty. You haven't even cared to show up to those neighbors and ask them what they're going through. That's why. You're an accomplice. And just the same way you got voted in and you've been sitting there since 2018 and you're saying they're allegations, they broke my window as a U.S. citizen in El Monte. Right now, you have no media coverage. This is the most silent chamber you're going to have moving forward. And I promise you, if you want media, you're going to have media. You want to know why? Because my congressman, Gil Cisneros, the way you say you have a beautiful relationship with Ms. Norma Torres, he is sitting in front of Kristi Noem saying, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, watch your language.
There's no children here.
Watch your language.
I should say that to you when you say that word allegations. Why don't you go up and do something? You're not going to come and say here, you know what happened to El Monte? Their police department was just as useless as yours at 6, 5, 7 in the morning. And you know, even the mayor knew that her own police department had messed up. I sat there in front of Mayor Karen Bass on Friday and all of the other mayors. You don't even come this close to being half of the mayor that they are, just simply for showing up. Pomona, Tim Sandoval, he understands what's going on in his city. That's why he showed up. You sit there with a smile on your face because you're privileged. You get to go and take your kids to practice. You all get to show up, wake up every single morning, show up to work. And guess what? You make it home. I don't. You have no selfless leadership, because every time I take a bite of my food, I feel freaking guilty. I feel guilty that I get to eat what I want, and all those people in Adelanto don't get to do that. That son who was waking up early Sunday morning for his dad to be taken on your Montclair streets. Yeah, on your Montclair streets. That dad never made it to the soccer game. Yeah, check how much time I have. 2 minutes. Enough to sit here and tell you that what you're doing, first of all, you messed up by calling these things out. These are deaths.
You haven't even provided facts
These
yet.
are, I will
You
provide
haven't
you.
provided
And you know
facts
what?
yet.
When I do provide you that information, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to go help the families with all of the immigration bonds? They've been homeowners. They've been renters in your city. You're laughing? That's the kind of leadership? Insane. I woke up angry today. If you didn't wake up angry, it's because you don't give a damn. It's free $99 to use your voice, and you're sitting there laughing at families being torn. Your congresswoman is blocking DHS funding, and you're here laughing. You're not eternal, sir. None of your positions are eternal. You got voted in, you could get voted out. Let me find out which one of your districts are up this year. It's not funny. People dying, children in detention centers is not funny, sir. You get to go home and have dinner with your kids tonight, right? I do. I have a restroom. You have a restroom. Privilege. Go laugh about something that's funny, not deaths. Are you leading this is your leader? This is your leader? This is your boss? That's who you guys look up to? You don't own the city. This is a community city. You're up there because people voted you in and they could get you out real quick. If I provide, you guys will all get an email from me tomorrow morning, and I'll provide you with names of the people that were allegedly detained. And maybe you could sit down tomorrow morning, drink your coffee, and you know what? Reach out to the family. Because there's people out here without resources. There's always enough money for police departments. There's always enough money for everything else. But what, you can't provide 50, 100K like Pomona is?
Thank you.
No, may I ask, ma'am,
On.
if
We're
if
gonna
you're
move
going
on.
to email, can you email the city clerk, please, so it can be sent to all of us? Thank you.
Okay, we have any other speakers
Only for the item.
regarding the Lopez?
business items.
Okay.
Yep.
And again, I just want to state this. This is a serious issue, and I'm quite aware of it. I actually spent time 2 weeks ago with a family whose father is in New Mexico, has been detained for 9 months. Actually went to a fundraiser for that family to help raise money for their legal defense. I've received phone calls from folks in Montclair who have seen the ICE in town. I actually have tried to drive by locations where I see on Facebook where ICE is in town. Obviously, I have never seen ICE. I'm not saying they have. Excuse me, I'm speaking now, and I just want to say this is a very compassionate issue. You're absolutely correct. This is an issue of importance to our community here, along with other communities. I'm a good friend of Tim Sandoval, and I was never invited by Mayor Karen Bass to go to Los Angeles. She invited me. I probably would have gone there as well to support that. But I wasn't invited by the Mayor of Karen Bass. We're in a different county, and I guess we're not as important. But nevertheless, we're going to move on, and we're going to go on to consent calendar. So I want to ask my council members, my right, do you have anything you want to pull? C3, okay. C3 it is. Anything else on my left? Okay, let's go to C3.
Mr. City Manager, I know that it was mentioned in the staff report. It alluded to the prior meeting where we had this discussion. What, was it just that the funds were just recently allocated, the match, I believe it was? What was the, because I had thought we had already put this, we voted for this and it was already happening, but clearly I was wrong in that estimate. I know it's regarding the lighting and transportation signals at Central in the 10, correct? And of course, they're going to do Chino and 60 in the 10, 60 and Central as well.
There.
Okay. Yes, this is for the same project that has been approved previously. I had a kickoff meeting with SBCTA, and so the contract with them has been signed. And I requested a proposal from AGA, our traffic consultant, who actually helped prepare the grant to begin with. And so now this is to formalize an agreement with them for the design of the improvements along the Central Avenue corridor.
Has there been any, entertaining any notion about dealing with traffic? I just lost my note. Traffic at Monte Vista in the 10? Because I know Caltrans has control over a certain segment of that intersection and traffic as well.
I believe we have been coordinating with them about that light. We have made suggestions on the timing. There's been some issues at that location, but this is specifically is for all along Central Avenue.
No, I understand that, but I just wondering if that, while
Yeah.
you're talking about this, if you're saying, hey, we also have this particular area that needs addressing, if that was being entertained and addressed as well, because it definitely needs to.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so if you'll recall, there were two areas that were actually being considered for grant funding by Caltrans, but there was only sufficient funding for the Central Avenue one, so that's the one we went with.
Thank you both for the explanation.
Thank you very much. Excuse me. All right, anybody else, any comments? If not, can I get a motion on the consent calendar?
Mr. Mayor, I will move the consent calendar as presented.
Okay, moved by Lopez, second by Mendez. We'll do electronic vote. Oh, I've already voted. Okay, so that's adopted 5-0. So we'll go on to the next item, which is the business item, consider adoption of resolution number 26-3511. If you wish to speak on this item again, you'll fill out a white card to my left, and then you go ahead and submit that to the city clerk of the box here, and you'll be able to speak. We'll take speaking requests up to the time we start when we start public comment on this item. So I think City Manager Starr, you have a presentation. Yes. All right. Go for it.
Yes, I do. I'm just making certain that the keyboard works, and it doesn't seem to be working.
Oh, I think there's someone else is controlling the screen. They're just setting it up. So can you try it now?
I'm sorry, what?
They were setting it up. Can you try it now? Okay. Here you go.
Now. Okay, thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, this evening I am presenting to you an item regarding resolution number 26-3511. This reaffirms provisions and recitals of resolution number 22-3344, disapproving and censuring certain conduct and behavior by Councilmember Ben Lopez and re-ratifying protective actions taken by the city manager. Further, the resolution you are considering this evening will further expand upon the censure by directing that certain restrictions and administrative economic sanctions be taken against Councilmember Lopez. And I'm not getting any reaction. Okay. So background, in June and July of 2021, two employees of the city brought forth separate complaints against Councilmember Lopez alleging discrimination based on sexual orientation and unlawful sexual harassment. Upon filing of the allegations, the city manager did take immediate action, implemented measures to protect employees from further harassment, discrimination, bullying, and retaliation, and these measures are identified in your agenda report. You will find them on pages 100 to 102 of the agenda. Also requested City Council approval of agreement number 21-4547 47 to hire EXTTI to conduct the independent workplace investigation related to those allegations. At a March 1st, 22 special meeting that adjourned to closed session, EXTTI did present to the City Council an oral presentation of the completed investigation, including findings reached that sustained the following. Councilmember Lopez, as a private individual and outside the course and scope of his duties, responsibilities, and performance as a member of the City Council, did conduct an extended and unwanted conversation with one employee about his sexual orientation and did intentionally hide his identity from another employee when they communicated on a social media dating site, and their communications included the sharing of sexually explicit content and photographs. The council was also made aware of 2 verified complaints filed by the 2 employees against Councilmember Lopez and the city, alleging that Councilmember Lopez engaged in discrimination based on sexual orientation and unlawful sexual harassment. At its March 21st, 2022 meeting, the City Council discussed preparation of a resolution of censure against Councilmember Lopez for his conduct and behavior, with a discussion on censure including the following issues: the filing of complaints by the 2 employees, information related to the EXTTI investigators' report, actions taken by the city manager to protect the employees of the organization, including restrictions imposed on Councilmember Lopez, and other prohibitions the City Council may consider imposing on Councilmember Lopez, and discussion of the censure process. What is censure? Censure is an official condemnation of a public official taken in open session to formally express disapproval of an incumbent's actions. What are the reasons for support of a resolution of censure? Disruption of meetings, breach of fiduciary duties, failure to disclose conflicts of interest and other fair political practices, commission violations, improper, inappropriate, harassing, bullying, or offensive behavior, and other violations that may be in violation of the Fair Employment and Housing Act, Ralph M. Brown Act violations, and other violations of law. Censure resolution is adopted by majority vote of the City Council if there is substantial evidence in the record to support a decision to censure a City Council incumbent. What are the impacts of censure on incumbent's power and authority? Censure does not remove an incumbent from office, nor restrict his or her statutory authority. It is, however, a collective act of public reprimand, rebuke, or disapproval that may incorporate specific restrictive actions and sanctions. Due process rights, there are due process rights related to censure that do go to the individual being considered for censure. And he is entitled to those processes and an opportunity to be heard on and respond to the resolution of censure. One of those rights is to be advised that a censure action is being considered. And in relation to resolution number 26-3511, on February 16, 2026, with the city manager in attendance, Mayor Dutray did advise Councilmember Lopez that the City Council was considering the resolution before you this evening, reaffirming that the censure actions in resolution number 22-3344, plus additional restrictions and sanctions, would be considered by the City Council this evening. What were the findings that were made in 22-3344? I'm going to go through these quickly because they were a number, and just to be expedient, I will say that the current resolution before you effectively adopts and incorporates each of these actions within the body of resolution number 22-3344. But effectively, at its April 4th meeting in 2022, when the City Council adopted resolution number 22-3344, they made the following findings: that EXTTI sustained following allegations made in the complaints filed by the 2 city employees. One, that the greater weight of the evidence supports a finding that Councilmember Lopez did engage in discrimination based on sexual orientation, and that the greater weight of the evidence supports a finding that Councilmember Lopez did engage in unlawful sexual harassment, did hide his identity when communicating on social media dating sites, and solicited and participated in sharing sexually explicit photographs and content. The council also made a finding that Montclair has a zero tolerance policy against harassment, discrimination, bullying, and retaliation. The council also made the finding that Councilmember Lopez's conduct and behavior was reprehensible, inappropriate, abusive, and disrespectful, and brought disrepute to the City of Montclair and the Montclair City Council, and that such conduct was not to be tolerated and shall be prevented from being repeated. The city has a duty and obligation to prevent workplace conditions of harassment, discrimination, bullying, and retaliation. And then when such workplace behavior does occur, an employee of the city would be properly disciplined up to including termination. However, state law does not provide the city council with the authority to terminate a member of the city council. It does provide a limited circumscribed process for the removal of a locally elected official, such as recall. You can also apply to the district attorney's office for consideration of separation of the incumbent from the position of city council member, and in the event that there is a felony violation or other violation of a individual's obligation to their duty of office, the law does provide that upon conviction of those actions, the individual is automatically removed from office. Other findings made by the council, that Councilmember Lopez is a private individual acting outside in the course and scope of his duties and responsibilities and performance as a member of the council, did engage in interactions with certain employees which were inappropriate, abusive, and disrespectful. Councilmember Lopez was acting solely as an individual without any authorization or ratification of his actions or behavior by the Montclair City Council. Other actions or determinations that were included in resolution number 22-3344 include that it is the duty of the City Council to residents and employees to ensure that local, state, and federal laws, as well as the rules, regulations, and policy of the city are complied with. The council also recognized that effective governance requires public confidence in the integrity, dignity, competence, professionalism, and appropriate decorum and behavior of its elected and appointed officials, that there needs to be fair, respectful, courteous, and dignified treatment of employees and members of the public, and the council affirmed that elected representatives shall demonstrate the highest level of professionalism and not behave in a manner that is detrimental to or adverse to the interests of the city. The council recited the city council's hiring of an independent workplace investigator to conduct an investigation. It declared that the council does not condone or approve the type of conduct and behavior exhibited by Councilmember Lopez, and it declared that based on the nature of employee allegations, of the employee's allegations against Councilmember Lopez, the findings reached by the independent workplace investigator sustain the allegations together with the filing of the 2 verified complaints in lawsuits by the same employees alleging unlawful sexual harassment and discrimination. The council also incorporated by reference the March 3, 2022 notice to Councilmember Lopez entitled Restrictions on Access to City Facilities and Prohibition Against Contact with City Employees, and it declared that censure is necessary to affirm that the conduct as described in the resolution would not be tolerated and shall be prevented from being repeated. The council also incorporated by reference protective and restrictive measures implemented by the city manager. Those measures are enumerated on pages 102 through 105 of your agenda. Council also determined that Councilmember Lopez should be removed from all appointed city council committees, subcommittees of the city council, city-sponsored committees, including but not limited to social event, recreation, and other types of committees that the city sponsors or associates with. Councilmember Lopez is also prohibited from speaking on behalf of the council or representing the city in any capacity other than as authorized in the Montclair Municipal Code. That Councilmember Lopez shall refrain from one-on-one contact, either on a personal or professional level with employees of the city of Montclair. That Councilmember Lopez is prohibited from overnight stays in public safety crew sleeping quarters. That Councilmember Lopez is prohibited from use of any locker room or exercise facilities owned and operated by the city. That his access to the city's universal Z Drive, where documents, photographs, and communications between employees are shared, is removed. All interagency email and text communications from Councilmember Lopez shall be directed only to his city council colleagues, the city attorney, or the city manager, and to the city clerk for purposes of city council agendas and elections. Notwithstanding those restrictions, any communications concerning the censure and the 2 lawsuits filed by the 2 employees should only be communicated between Councilmember Lopez and his legal counsel and the city's defense counsel. and except as otherwise provided in that resolution, Councilmember Lopez is prohibited from engaging in communications in an official or personal capacity with any employee of the city, including on social media and written correspondence or other media, and that Councilmember Lopez is prohibited from city-paid, non-paid travel to conferences, meetings, training, or other events represented or sponsored by the City of Montclair. Councilmember Lopez is also required to attend city-approved sexual harassment prevention training and other training as may be required by the city manager. In the case of the state-mandated training, there is training every 2 years for sexual harassment and ethics training. Councilmember Lopez has attended the state-mandated sexual harassment and ethics training. However, he did not attend the city-directed training that was scheduled in May and June of 2022. That training was specifically designed to deal with the issues at hand. And unfortunately, Councilmember Lopez did not attend the training despite the fact that the city paid $3,500 for the development of that training by a law firm. Other actions that may be considered and implemented from time to time, the council determined would also be brought forward. And all ratified actions are to remain in place until otherwise rescinded by appropriate authority. The council also declared that Councilmember Lopez shall comply with all of the restrictions imposed and enumerated in Resolution Number 22-3344, and that the city manager should enforce those resolutions and report back to the city council any violation of the provisions of the resolution. And the council declared its intent that in the event of future improper and unprofessional conduct by Councilmember Lopez in violation of the provisions contained in Resolution 22-3344 or other laws of the state of California, that it would pursue additional enforcement activities. This brings us to the resolution before you this evening that again does incorporate all of the previous items that I discussed with you. So why are you being asked to consider resolution number 26-3511? Councilmember Lopez did fail to participate in or respond to the City Council mandated sexual harassment prevention training, as I already discussed. He also failed to participate in or respond to an October 6, 2022 global mediation settlement. That settlement was between the parties, including the City of Montclair and its special legal counsel, Councilmember Lopez and his legal counsel, and the two employees that filed the complaints against Councilmember Lopez and their legal counsel. As a result of Councilmember Lopez's failure to attend the global mediation, the city was put in a position of settling separately and individually with each of the two employees, as well as paying for the full cost of the mediation. So the city did pay $7,500 for the mediation cost, and it ultimately settled with the two employees for $550,000 through a settled agreement. And by Councilmember Lopez's failure to participate, it resulted in the city joining with the employees in their complaint against Councilmember Lopez, and the city did join as a cross-complainant seeking recovery for its economic damages. Another reason why you're asked to consider 26-3511, on December 5, 2025, Superior Court Judge Corey Mathewson issued his oral tentative decision in favor of the two employees and the cross-complainant City of Montclair against defendant Lopez. The plaintiffs each received, through this process, $350,000 in past damages and $50,000 in future damages, for a total of $800,000 between the two complainants, plus punitive damages to be determined. The cross-complainant City of Montclair was also awarded indemnity in the amount of 100%. That would be $550,000 in the settlement clause, plus all attorney's fees and court costs. And on December 12th, 2025, the Superior Court Judge Mathewson imposed against defendant Lopez $176,000 in punitive damages, or $88,000 for each of the plaintiffs. And cross-complainant City of Montclair did not file for punitive damages, so we did not receive an award in that regard. Then on January 5, 2026, Superior Court Judge Mathewson issued his proposed statement of decision, which then became the statement of decision without objection within the statutory period. And the findings of that decision were in favor of the plaintiffs on each of their respective causes of action for unlawful sexual harassment in violation of the Fair Employment Housing Act, and against Defendant Lopez, stating Defendant Lopez conduct amounted to malice, oppression, and/or fraud, justifying a punitive damage award. The judge also determined in favor of the plaintiffs on each of their respective claims, plus punitive damages against Defendant Lopez in the aggregate amount of $488,000 for each plaintiff, bringing their total to $976,000. Judge also decided in favor of the cross-complainant City of Montclair on its cause of action for indemnity against Defendant Lopez with equitable relief for attorney's fees and costs and $550,000 in past settlement payments made to the plaintiffs. Montclair's current expenditure to date is in excess of $750,000. In his statement of decision, Judge Mathewson also found that Defendant Lopez is liable as an employee of the City of Montclair because as a member of the City Council, Lopez is an employee of the city. Lopez is also a supervisor within the meaning of the Fair Employment Housing Act. Defendant Lopez is also personally liable pursuant to the Fair Employment Housing Act, which holds that as an employee of an entity subject to this particular subdivision in FEHA, he is personally liable for any harassment prohibited by this section that is perpetrated by the employee. Pursuant to various laws, interpretations, including the following, locally elected officials are defined or referenced as either supervisors, members of the workforce, or employees, and this is important because it then makes Councilmember Lopez subject to the sanctions and other actions that the council is contemplating. Assembly Bill 1661 requires sexual harassment prevention training, and in the language of AB 1661, it defines elected officials as members of the workforce. Assembly Bill 1825, extending sexual harassment prevention training to all supervisor employees, including locally elected leaders, and it does define locally elected leaders as supervisors. The Fair Employment Housing Act, which defines locally elected leaders as both supervisors and employees. And determinations by the Judicial Council of the California Advisory Committee on Civil Jury Instructions, which over 3,500 pages discusses extensively FEHA and exclusively in many areas its relationship to locally elected officials and their service as supervisors and employees. Together with the decision by Judge Mathewson stating that Defendant Lopez is liable as an employee of the City of Montclair because as a member of the council, Lopez is an employee of the city, Resolution number 263511 makes the determination that Lopez is a supervisor, a member of the workforce, and an employee, making him subject to sanctions by the City Council. Can Resolution number 26351 impose economic sanctions against Councilmember Lopez? Various California government code provisions and Attorney General legal opinions provide that compensation and/or benefits for City Council members are generally not mandatory, including the following. Government Code Section 5325 provides that if any type of compensation, salary, or stipend is paid to a member of a legislative body, then the only thing that it provides that all local agency officials shall receive training in ethics. Government Code Section 36516 provides that a city council may enact an ordinance, again, may enact an ordinance, providing that each member of the city council shall receive a salary based on the population for that city. SB 329 provides that cities with an option to adjust council member compensation. And then Government Code Section 5328 provides that elected members may participate in health and welfare benefit plans. And it is important to recognize that while all of these provisions say may, it also gives the individuals, city council members, an opportunity to not accept any of these benefits or accept partial benefits. So already the laws create provisions that allow different structures in relation to compensation and benefits provided. Government Code Section 53201 provides that a legislative body may provide for any health and welfare benefits. Government Code Section 53205 provides that a legislative body may authorize payment of all or such portion as it may elect of the premiums or charges for health and welfare benefits. Government Code Section 53208.5 provides cities with the option to adjust council member compensation. Government Code Section 5328 provides that elected members may participate in health and welfare benefit plans. And Attorney General Opinion Number 08405 provides that a city may provide a vehicle allowance to its council members in lieu of reimbursing actual vehicle expenses. So can a resolution number 26351 impose economic sanctions against Councilmember Lopez? The Montclair Council also possesses its foundational legislative prerogative, the power of the purse, giving it authority to impose economic sanctions against an employee or a city council colleague adjudicated to be in violation of their duty to office. What is the what is the power of the purse? It is the authority bestowed upon a legislative body to allocate, control, regulate, authorize, and restrict the use of funds for a variety of purposes, including but not limited to activities, services, infrastructure improvements, maintenance and operations, fiscal and operational accountability, labor relations, and other personnel-related matters, either positively or negatively. The latter, which may include withholding, controlling, limiting, reducing, or restricting available forms of compensation or reimbursement, including as a means of discipline or sanction against an employee or a legislative member. Forms of compensation subject to power of the purse include travel, meals, lodging, education, incentive, compensation and benefit restrictions and/or reductions related to discipline or fiscal conditions, restrictions or reductions related to other forms of non-mandatory compensation, and loss of employment. The City Council is authorized, the City Council authority is predicated on a number of laws, legal opinions, legislative prerogatives, court cases and decisions, FPPC Code of Ethics, and the power of the purse, as well as duly sworn promises, including but not limited to the following. The statement of the decision by Superior Court Judge Mathewson in Garcia Fuentes versus Lopez and City of Montclair versus Lopez, in which Judge Matheson's declaration that defendant Lopez is liable as an employee of the City of Montclair because as a member of the City Council, Lopez is an employee of the city. Lopez is also a supervisor within the meaning of the Government Code Section 12962T, which is the Fair Employment Housing Act. Judge Matheson's declaration that defendant Lopez may be held personally liable pursuant to Government Code Section 12940J3, which states an employee of an entity subject to the subdivision is personally liable for any harassment prohibited by this section that is perpetrated by the employee. California Government Code Section 1360 also requires that locally elected officials take and subscribe to an oath or affirmation, which is set forth in Article 20, Section 3 of the California Constitution, including the commitment to support and defend the constitutions of the United States and the state of California. By their oath of office, council members are duly sworn to uphold not only the federal and state constitutions, but also the vast network of national, state, and local laws, ordinances, rules, regulations, policies, and ordinances, including those that govern the workplace and the interrelationships between elected officials, managers, supervisors, and employees. The California Fair Political Practices Commission administers the Political Reform Act, which regulates, among other things, governmental ethics. The FPPC objectives are to ensure that public officials act in a fair and unbiased manner in the government and decision-making process in order to promote transparency in government, foster public trust in the political system, maintain high standards of integrity, honesty, and conduct in all activities, be impartial, responsible, and accountable to the public, and ensure that the actions of public officials are above reproach and free from impropriety. Provisions of the Fair Employment Housing Act that define locally elected representatives as supervisors. There are provisions, that do define them as supervisors. And in that definition, supervisors means any individual having the authority in the interest of the employer to hire, transfer, suspend, lay off, recall, promote, discharge, assign, reward, or discipline other employees or the responsibility to direct them or to adjust their grievances or effectively to recommend that action if in the connection with the foregoing, the exercise of that authority is not of a merely routine or clerical nature, but requires the use of independent judgment, and members of the City Council do have that authority. Provisions of the Fair Employment Housing Act that define persons subject to relevant subdivisions employees include Government Code Section 12940J3, and in that language it states that an employee of an entity subject to this subdivision is personally liable for any harassment prohibited by this section that is perpetrated by the employee. Each of the laws and Attorney General opinions previously listed, including the following, each of which define locally elected officials as either supervisors or members of the workforce, also go to this issue. Assembly Bill 1661 requires sexual harassment prevention training. Assembly Bill 1825 extends sexual harassment prevention training to all supervisor employees, including locally elected leaders. So it would be clear based on both of those issues and the fact that Councilmember Lopez has attended both sexual harassment training and has attended ethics training that he is well aware of the requirements of state law in this regard. And the Judicial Council of California Advisory Committee on Civil Jury Instructions, which again, through 3,600 pages of documents, scrupulously examines the issues addressed in FEHA related to sexual harassment. That is exclusively what it addresses, and has an area of focus specifically related to locally elected officials. So what are the findings in resolution number 26-3511? Based upon the scope of laws designed to subject locally elected officials to certain legal, procedural, and administrative actions, up to including removal from office, as provided for under the following. Government Code Sections 3600 to 375 provide a process for presenting to a grand jury an accusation against a public official for willful or corrupt misconduct in office. And upon conviction by that grand jury, the individual is automatically removed from office. Government Code Section 1770 provides that an office becomes vacant upon his or her conviction of a felony or of any offense involving a violation of his or official duties. However, the other offenses are also criminal related, so this section does not relate in this particular instance. However, when trial court judgment is entered, sentencing the officer or otherwise upholding and implementing the plea, the verdict, or finding, the individual is automatically removed from office. Again, these issues are not directly available to this, or these provisions of code are not directly available to the City Council. The City Council finds that the California State Legislature did intend, however, and does provide authority to subject locally elected officials to certain legal, administrative, and procedural actions and sanctions administered by the local legislative body. The City Council finds that actions and or sanctions may include, but not be limited to the following: censure, removal from committee assignments, restrictions on travel, meals, and lodging, including the elimination of funding related thereto, restrictions on access to facilities maintained and operated by the local entity, legal representation, including but not limited to alleged violations of FEHA, provisions related to interactions with employees of the agency, restrictions on access to local agency provided equipment, supplies, and telephone, internet, and media accounts, removal and or reductions to non-mandatory forms of compensation, sanctions administered in accordance with the FPPC and city policies, or other actions or sanctions as determined appropriate by the City Council. The City Council finds that the public has a right to know the basis for any actions taken against a locally elected official, thus the discussion that we are having with you this evening. The City Council finds that Councilmember Lopez is a supervisor within the meaning of the Fair Employment Housing Act, is a member of the workforce as provided for in AB 1661 and AB 1825, is an employee as provided for in FEHA and as declared by Judge Mathewson in Garcia Fuentes versus Lopez and City of Montclair versus Lopez. City Council finds that as a supervisor, member of the workforce, and an employee, Councilmember Lopez is subject to certain administrative actions and or sanctions, including economic sanctions as may be taken against a manager, supervisor, or employee of the City of Montclair. City Council finds that because Councilmember Lopez's acts, behavior, and violations of state law were, were conducted outside the scope of Councilmember Lopez's employment as a City Council member, he lacks legislative immunity with regard to actions he took towards City of Montclair employees. Council finds that effective January 21, 2026, the California Insurance Pool Authority, California Insurance Pool Authority is the agency that provides general liability insurance for the City of Montclair. CIPA is their acronym. They did indefinitely deny professional liability insurance coverage for Councilmember Lopez due to the determination of the Superior Court in Fuentes Garcia versus Lopez and City of Montclair versus Lopez, and therefore the council does declare that Montclair shall not use the financial assets of the city to defend, represent, provide indemnification for, or otherwise include Councilmember Lopez under any defense strategy used by the city in relation to any and all claims, complaints, grievances, lawsuits, or civil or criminal charges brought against the city council, or Councilmember Lopez as an individual for whatever reason, nor shall the city use any city-acquired liability insurance policy coverage for the same, nor shall the city council seek alternative professional liability insurance coverage also for the same. The council finds that in addition to those restrictions, sanctions, and measures that were enumerated previously in the discussion regarding resolution number 22-3344, it incorporates in resolution number 26-3511 the following administrative actions and sanctions. Councilmember Lopez shall indefinitely remain removed from and shall not be appointed to the following seats, boards, committees, or commissions: the mayor pro tem position, city council committees and subcommittees, liaison positions, including but not limited to the Montclair Plan Commission, Community Activity Commission, or Chamber of Commerce, city-sponsored committees or boards, private or nonprofit committees, boards either receiving funding from the city or where the committee or board appoints a member of the Montclair City Council, he will not be eligible for a seat on that committee or board. Any interagency committees and or boards that require or desire that the City of Montclair provide representation. Councilmember Lopez shall limit his communications with city personnel to members of the City Council, the city manager, and the city clerk, and those communications shall be directed to should be directed to city staff that require performance, research, and a report production shall first be referred to the City Council in regular session, and the council by majority vote shall make the determination as whether or not there will be a response to those requests from Councilmember Lopez. Councilmember Lopez shall remain prohibited from speaking on behalf of the City Council or representing the city in any capacity other than as authorized by the Montclair Municipal Code for the purposes of constituent representation at regularly scheduled special and or closed session meetings of the council. And Councilmember Lopez shall remain prohibited from attending city-paid, non-paid travel to conferences, meetings, or other events where representation by the city is involved. Further, effective the first day of the first full month after adoption of resolution number 26-3511, Councilmember Lopez shall be ineligible to receive, nor shall he receive a city-paid automobile travel allowance or otherwise be eligible to use any city-owned or private vehicle for purposes of travel. However, this does not prevent Councilmember Lopez from submitting reimbursement for any travel on behalf of the city where that travel is mandated and where it is directed by the city manager. Reimbursement shall not include attendance at any regularly scheduled, the issues related to reimbursement shall not include any attendance at regularly scheduled special and or closed session meetings, for example, this evening's meeting, of the City Council, or mileage reimbursement that would otherwise be excluded by the city's travel policy or state or federal law. The city manager is directed to submit for City Council consideration revisions to section 2.12.050 of the Montclair Municipal Code related to City Council compensation. The revisions shall incorporate differing rates of monthly pay for council members that represent a normal rate of pay represented by the higher end of the pay scale for members in good standing, and a lower rate of pay represented by any member found to be not in good standing. What is not in good standing? Not in good standing shall represent a pay scale standard based on any civil tort ruling in which a member of the City Council acting outside the course and scope of his or her official duties and responsibilities has been adjudicated by a court of competent jurisdiction to be in violation of his or her official duties. That would include any willful or corrupt misconduct in office under the Fair Employment Housing Act and other laws of the state of California. That would be applicable to failure to comply with his duty to office. The lower rate paid of scale shall be set at the minimum allowed under state law. The city manager and city attorney are directed to pursue any legal or equitable procedure such as a court-ordered judgment for garnishment of Councilmember Lopez's monthly wages in compliance with the Consumer Credit Protection Act or other applicable law or court order. The current authorized premium paid by the city toward Councilmember Lopez's health benefit and life insurance policy shall be capped at the current level that it is being provided at. However, Councilmember Lopez shall no longer be eligible to receive any monthly city contribution toward a city-provided deferred compensation program, and he shall be fully responsible for the member contribution rate component of the CalPERS normal cost rate. Other actions and or sanctions that also may be considered by the City Council from time to time shall be brought forward by the City Council or the City Manager as necessary to protect the employees of the organization. The City Council determined that adoption of Resolution Number 26-3511 is necessary to affirm that such inappropriate behavior and conduct as enumerated in the resolution shall not be tolerated, and that Councilmember Lopez has been and shall remain censured for such conduct and behavior, and that such conduct and behavior shall be prevented from being repeated. The conduct and behavior as enumerated in the resolution 26-3511 occurred outside the course and scope and performance of his duties as a member of the City Council. Councilmember Lopez shall comply with all of the actions, sanctions, and restrictions and measures as enumerated in the resolution, and the City Manager is directed to advise the City Council of any violations of Resolution 26-3511. City Council should pursue all legal remedies available by law to stop, terminate, or prevent, or otherwise prevent any future violations by Councilmember Lopez of the provisions of Resolution 26-3511. And Resolution 26-3511 reaffirms the provisions and recitals that were enumerated in 22-344. Councilmember Lopez's disapproval and censuring of certain conduct and behavior by Councilmember Lopez is also included in the resolution. It re-ratifies the actions taken by the City Manager in relation to restrictions on Councilmember Lopez and protections of employees in the organization. It expands on Resolution Number 22-344 by directing certain restrictions and administrative economic sanctions that have been enumerated before in this presentation. And provisions of Resolution Number 26-3511 take effect immediately upon adoption or as otherwise specified in the resolution. What are the fiscal impacts? After adoption of Resolution Number 26-351, city staff determines that there is no direct fiscal impact on the city's general fund by adoption of the resolution. However, implementation of the economic sanctions contained in the resolution will produce a reduction in general fund expenditures. It is staff's recommendation that the council exercises prerogative as the City Council to consider adoption of Resolution Number 26-351, including each of the recitals, the actions, sanctions, and provisions provided therein. That concludes my presentation.
Well, thank you very much, Ed. At this time, we will take public comment. You all have 5 minutes. How many speakers do we have, Andrea?
I have one written comment and 9 speakers.
9 speakers? So that puts us around 45 minutes. So, okay, we'll start with the your written person. I'll let you go with the speaker
I
then.
figure I'll read that one at the end.
Okay, we'll do at the end then. All right, go ahead.
So first, Carolyn Raft,
And then who's after that?
and then Alice Garcia.
Okay, we'll start with Carolyn Raft.
Good evening, City Council, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Starr, Diane. Um, I really kind of feel sorry for Ben sitting up there, I tell you. You know, Ben, we've been known each other for a very long time. I know your parents, who are really good people, and it's a shame that you have put them through all of this. When the Daily Bulletin wrote the article regarding the lawsuit where 2 male employees were suing you for sexual harassment and added the link to read the lawsuit, I have to tell you, I was shocked reading about the things you said and did regarding those employees. You have ran for City Council of Montclair at least 10 times or more, every council election. And finally, when there was an open seat, you won, and yet you blew it by committing sexual harassment. That's quite unbelievable. As Mr. Starr said, the city has spent over $750,000 in legal costs thus far, with attorney fees that are not yet known, money that could have been used for other projects. When you're elected as someone else, as everyone else, there are classes on ethics training, which Mr. Starr said, mandated by the state that you must attend, which you did attend the state that was mandated. Also mandated sexual harassment training classes by the city every 2 years, as was stated, which you did not attend. The city even paid, as Mr. Starr said, a law firm $3,500 to give you that training. You never attended. That was money lost, and even though you did take the state mandated ethics training class, you still turned around and committed sexual harassment anyway. You sit up there on the diocese every council meeting and act like nothing you did was wrong, even when someone gets up here and chastises you for your actions. It goes over your head. Apparently, you have no shame. The court found you guilty of sexual harassment conduct in favor of the employees as well as in favor for the city. Now you have a recall against you, and I read your response to the recall. You can tell the residents all good things that you did for them as if you did it alone, but you know as well as I do that you can't do anything by yourself, but it takes 3 council members to be able to do anything, not one. You can tell them you are being railroaded, which isn't true. Even the court agreed. You need to face what you did was wrong. With all the censors the city has put on you and still is going to tonight, you can't even represent the city of your constituents due to being censored in every way possible, as well as being restricted on city property. Therefore, you can't do your job. You are incapable of doing your duties. The right thing to do is for you to resign and give your parents back some dignity and own up to what you did for everyone's sake, including the city's. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Alice, and who's after Alice?
After
Come on up, Alice. I'm sorry?
After Alice is Edmund Garcia Sr.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Many people think that one person cannot stand against a system of bullying and harassment, but I am here to show every citizen in Montclair that when you come together for a cause and have the truth on your side, anything is possible. Yesterday, while picketing with supporters, I saw Ben Lopez face to face. I looked him in the eye and I told him exactly why we were there. To recall Ben Lopez. Seeing him only reinforced why this movement is growing. You can ignore emails and you can ignore court transcripts, but you can't ignore your neighbors standing on the corner day after day, telling the truth to your face. Ben, this began back in 2021 because you pursued 2 city employees. You tried to take advantage of your political power, but it backfired. You continue to claim that these are nothing but lies, even though they were proven true in a court of law. I sat in that courtroom and listen as my son testified about how you asked him to engage in anonymous, explicit sexual acts and asked him if he wanted to have sex at work. You used usernames like down to play and looking to suck to disguise your true identity. That is not the behavior of a leader. That is not someone who represents the values of this city. Nothing you said in that courtroom was the truth, and there is no evidence that can prove otherwise. You claim we are disparaging you, but let's look at Resolution 22-3344. Your own colleagues on this council issued the strongest possible disavowal of your conduct. They stripped you of your committees. They banned you from one-on-one contact with staff to protect them from your harassment. This isn't voter division. This is documented history of misconduct that the city itself had to legislate against. The message is clear. Harassment from an elected official is not okay. It never was, and it will never be tolerated in Montclair again. This council passed this resolution to protect city staff. You told him to stop representing the city. You told him to stay away from employees, but he hasn't stopped. He still shows up, he still claims credit for work he was barred from doing, and he still intimidates residents at their front doors. I see a few of you up here who would rather sweep this under the rug, or you have no backbone at all to help stop this misconduct. You don't belong in these seats either. How many of you actually read the court documents? I'm sure you chose not to because how gross his behavior is. While our residents wait years for projects to be finished, watching thousands of dollars here and there get shifted around, this city has somehow found over $500,000 to defend the indefensible and a blank check for Ben Lopez's misconduct. The math doesn't add up, and the residents are done being ignored. If this council cannot or will not enforce its own sanctions, then the people of Montclair will. This recall is about finishing the job of accountability that this council started but failed to complete. We are done waiting for the council to pick and choose how to spend our money. We are done watching our resources be drained by the legal defense of one man's misconduct while our community's needs go unmet. This is the first step in the process. Recall Ben Lopez. He sexually harassed 2 city employees. As of today, our petition is moving forward. We are in the final days of the review process, and then we hit the streets. We are doing the hard thing so that our kids can grow up in a city where safety isn't a campaign slogan, but a reality. We are the change we've been waiting for.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia.
Okay, next after him will be Donald Moore.
Okay, Mr. Garcia.
All right. Well, as we went out this weekend and for our community awareness program to make sure everybody knows that we are in a recall of Ben Lopez, we let everybody know the reasoning why. We talked to them. We let them know that he sexually harassed 2 city employees. We let them know that we weren't out there just making things up. We referenced the LA Times, we referenced the Daily Bulletin. We got a lot of people going by honking with their approvals. We got people thanking us for standing up and doing what's right for the community. And all we ask is for you guys to do what's right. If you guys cannot vote as a team for this censure, then that means you're being complicit again. And why would you do that? Why would you not see this is the right thing to do? Is it because hopefully if you guys do this one day, that there'll be light on you, that you'll still be able to keep your job? Is that why we're being nice to Mr. Lopez? Is that why we don't stand up to him? Because when it's your turn on the podium, your turn of being the harasser, he'll stand up for you too? Again, it's all of you as a team. It's all of you. Because we're going to do what it takes for us. We will hit the streets. We will talk to the residents. and we will make sure this recall goes through. So, thank you for your time, and we'll see you again.
Thank you.
Ben Lopez.
All right, next speaker after Mr.
After that will be Fred
Okay.
Arens. And, sorry.
Mr. Lopez, I would like to begin by saying I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. Your actions have drugged me from my home with my family to sit here for an hour. While I listen to our mayor censure people for having bad language, that's a different issue. I'm upset about that. But in 2010, you tell the Pasadena Star News that gays want to boast and brag that they are making inroads. No, they are not. Go to my community. You were talking about Montclair. They will be rejected here soundly, you said. You were the leader of the Anaheim chapter of what? Traditional Values Coalition? The SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, has deemed that an anti-LGBT hate group. And I wish the rest of this council would treat this lunatic like the Klan member he is. There is no difference when it comes to bigotries. But then none of this was surprising now, was it? Because he who cries and sings loudest at church, Mr. Lopez, has the most to hide. So I was not surprised at all to find out that you making these statements and it coming out right before the election and you squeaked in anyway, and then you turned around and you victimized our city employees. Shame on you. And now we got to go through this expensive recall process, which the first time I inquired about it, because of your anti-LGBT views, I was told it's expensive, it's complicated, we're going to have to vote them out next election. So now not only did you create $1 million problem for our community, now we got to go through this expensive process anyway. The right thing to do is to quit taking the Lord's name in vain. Just step down and go get right with God. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have, who's the very next one? Okay, then it's Janetta Morrissey.
Okay.
Sorry, after Fred.
Yeah, Fred first and then Janetta afterwards.
Wow, that's some powerful speeches. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. My name is Fred Ahrens. I am a 45-year resident of Montclair. Having moved here from the mountain communities to have my daughter start school in an environment that would carry her all the way through her college years without the trials of living with snow and road closures. My wife and I have since had another daughter, and both of my daughters went through all of the Montclair, Ontario school districts and graduated to go on to local colleges for degrees. I have since then, as a grandparent, watched my grandson attend the same schools and make long-term friends in Montclair, just as my two daughters, my wife, and I have. When it became time for me to retire last year, I chose to stay in Montclair, in my small home, and use it as a primary base to come back to from my travels to other states and after long camping trips. I have seen a lot of major as well as minor changes in Montclair over 45 years. And the majority of those have been great, and the growth of our community exciting to watch and be part of. However, the one exception to this, and my reason for speaking today, is Councilman Ben Lopez. I myself voted him into office on his first term. I, at this time, apologize to the friends, neighbors, and families of the two young adults, and that has been proven in court to have been sexually harassed. For if I, among the many fooled residents, had not cast that vote, I would not have helped our community to put him in a position to have created the situation that harmed the others and drained our taxpayer money. The cost to this city has helped drain our coffers by over $750,000 and still counting. That We, all the taxpayers, both residents and visitors, built up to do great things for all of the citizens and to impress visitors to our small city. It's not his private bank account for payouts and legal fees. Now, due to Ben Lopez's total lack of integrity and his lack of leadership skills, Mr. Lopez will cost the city yet another $200,000 plus to hopefully fund, create, and pass a recall by voters to remove him from office. Because he will not do the honorable thing that many have requested and simply resign from his position, but rather chooses to sit there and pretend he is needed or that he can actually do anything, or that he is capable of valuable input to Montclair's future. But the honest and simple truth is he rides on the coattails of the mayor and the city council who continue to do great things for our city and then smiles as if he helped or did it all himself. Today, I ask you simply that if you, Ben Lopez, really love the city of Montclair, something that you professed when you were running for election, and still want to do great things, the most honorable and long-term help would be for you to hand in your resignation and walk away. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And after Janetta is Bruce Culp.
This is my first time speaking here, and I thought it was such an important issue. The sexual harassment thing, I just can't even fathom. I said, they're my sons. They're my nephews. They're my cousins. And to have this happen here, I said, is just unthinkable. And I'm here to say that I'm supporting the recall of Ben Lopez, 100%. I do not want someone sitting on the city council that cannot accept responsibility for his actions or be accountable. You are making every single citizen of Montclair pay for your actions. Every single one. And I, for one, have my own bills to pay. I don't like paying yours. And what is that about? It's heading toward $1 million? Unbelievable. You also state that slander is being committed against you. All we are doing is stating what the court papers have found you guilty of. You are a predator and that wants to remain in the dark, but now all of this is out in the light. You do not want to step down, so we are taking our lawful right to remove you. Montclair cannot afford you, Ben Lopez, morally or financially. Thank you.
And then after Bruce will be the written comment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for making this item part of our agenda today. Previously, when we speak out during public comment, all of you guys were protected, prevented from responding to our statements and questions. Now that it's on the agenda, we residents are now able to have a dialogue with you. And you can, and have an obligation to, answer our questions and respond to our statements. And I have a list of questions after I make a few statements here. So, Ben Lopez accused of sexual harassing 2 city employees. Okay? Now, beautiful thing about our system of justice, it's renowned over the world because, you know what? The truth comes out in a court of law here in the United States. The accused are presumed innocent, starting out. The plaintiffs have to give a preponderance of evidence that something actually did occur, right? You can't just spout stuff off. You have to have evidence. You have to have facts. And then the defense gets to put forth what they have, and it has to be past the smell test, right? If defendant says that there were bad actors or this is false or anything, that they have to prove that in a court of law. So he had every opportunity to prove his innocence. And when it was all said and done, he was found to be liable basically the equality of guilty in a criminal court. But this is a civil court, so he's found liable. So he can say whatever he wants out here, right? He can bullshit, he can say lies, whatever he wants. But in a court of law, the truth has to be said. If you don't, you can be held in contempt, right? But out here, like he's going to do tonight, he's going to lie to people, and some people will believe him. But in a court of law, what he said didn't pass the smell test at all. Okay? So we know for a fact he did, in fact, commit these acts of sexual harassment against 2 city employees. You don't have to take my word for it. It's right here, all in black and white. Okay? He's also going to spout other lies, right? Like he was responsible for all these successes in the city. You know, like he's taking everybody's credit. All these hardworking people right here that are sitting right here tonight, our city manager, our city staff, they are the ones doing the hard work. He's only 1/5 of a vote. He's barely even that, right? The only thing you've done by yourself and you were successful at was sexually harassing 2 city employees. That's the only thing you can take credit for all by yourself. So take credit for it, because you did it. And what does that cost us? It costs us cities probably well over $1 million, okay? That's my hard-earned tax dollars. That's everybody else's here hard-earned tax dollars. That's just the cost being counted, okay? There's much more money lost every time he attends a city council meeting. And who knows how much the city is losing because of this blemish this city's been put on their city, right? Developers and businesses, when they come in here and do investments, they expect that that money that they're going to invest in the city is going to be put into the infrastructure, city sewers, water, trash service, all that, roads, improvements, so that their businesses can flourish. But guess what? Now they got to think about, is that money just going to be squandered away on a defense cost? So maybe we're losing business, millions, tens of millions, you know, right now, because businesses, developers, those kinds of people are going to look at the city and say, geez, you know, they're just spending money on, you know, they're just throwing money away on, you know, on all this court costs and things like that. Why should we invest in the city? You know, SBCTA, maybe they took away that A-line to Montclair because of the sexual harassment. We'll never know. And that includes $1 billion in development. He could be losing us billions of dollars in development. Okay? So consider all that. So I have some questions. I'm getting close to my timeout, so I'll ask them as fast as I can. This one's for the city manager, possibly the city attorney. Pages 107 through 110 of the agenda, the city cites several references of state and judiciary entities that indicate that a council member should be considered a supervisor, member, employee, and an employee. And I'll agree with that. If he's an employee, then the city manager absolutely has the ability to hire and fire any city employee here. So I ask city manager, as the CEO of this city, please fire him immediately. He's an employee. You guys have put that in paper on this thing.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce. Your 5 minutes is up. If you have any questions for the city manager, you can provide a copy to the city manager, or if you wish to email the city manager, if you wish to do so. And then I think the city clerk, you have somebody else?
Yes, so I have a written comment from Denise Johnson, former council member. Based on the information the city council was given, I support the censure of Councilman Ben Lopez. I believe the most important thing that can be done to support Montclair residents is to ensure that staff are in an environment that is free of harassment. Harassment in any form, verbal, physical, or psychological, can have devastating effects on individuals and organizations alike. Victims may experience anxiety and/or depression. For the employer, these outcomes often translate into lost productivity and legal consequences. Ultimately, ensuring employees are safe from harassment isn't just a legal obligation, it's a moral one. A workplace that values dignity and fairness uplifts its entire community and sets a standard. While there are people who believe Councilman Lopez has done nothing wrong, there are others who believe he is very wrong and should resign. At the very least, I think this censure should continue until the victims of harassment from Lopez are able to return to their normal work tasks. As a Montclair resident, I expect staff to support our community the best they can. The staff can only do that if they feel safe and free from harassment. And that's it.
Thank you. All right, City Manager, there was a question posed to you by the last speaker regarding pages 107, 110. Well, I believe the question is, why can't you fire a city council member?
Yes, the state provides a specific process in relation to removal of city council members, and that is the only means by which the state allows it to be done. So in regard to establish them as supervisors or employees or members of the workforce, it is correct that as an employee of the organization, the city manager would otherwise be would be permitted to terminate their employment or otherwise provide demotions or other forms of disciplinary action. The main question is about whether or not the city manager can remove a sitting city council member from employment. First off, the city manager is an employee of the city council. He does not sit above members of the city council, so I don't have that authority, one. Two, the law, again, as I said, specifically provides the only means by which a member of the city council can be removed from office. I enumerated a few of those in the presentation this evening. There are other means by which a council member can be removed, but those are, again, circumscribed processes. They're not available to the city council except under specific circumstances. So, for example, if a sitting council member has been placed in a mental health care facility and will be unavailable to provide his or her services to the community, then the council can remove them in that instance. But in relation to criminal activities, the court provides that upon conviction, the position is automatically vacated, but in civil tort-related actions, it can only be referred to the DA, which is one of the other questions that Mr. Culp has submitted. And there is a process where the DA can take a complaint that is submitted for the grand jury. The grand jury would effectively conduct a trial of its own. And if they find that the sitting elected official is guilty for willful misconduct or corruption in exercising his or her official duties, then the grand jury can remove them. But the city council itself does not have the authority, and certainly the city manager does not. There are a couple of other questions on here that I have not fully had an opportunity to read, but one of them does ask, has Councilmember Lopez started the process of repaying the city in relation to the judgment rendered by the court? The answer is no, he has not. And is the cost that the city has experienced between $700,000 to $1 million, the total cost for the city? At this time they are, but the city has not received final billing from legal counsel related to representation of the city in relation to the jury trial, and I would expect that additional costs will come in through that. But beyond that, I don't have a final tabulation. If I were to add the cost of city staff time into the total cost, and yes, I would say that it is likely over the course of the last 4 years well exceeded $1 million in total cost, but I just am not able to charge that back, staff time, as a cost, so that is not computed into my calculations. And then the last question, and there are still more parts of other questions that I'll have to go over and give a response back to Mr. Culp. But the last question is for the city attorney. Can you provide federal, state, local law ordinances that require the city to keep a picture of a council member on the wall? I don't know that there is any law. I'll answer the question for the city attorney. I don't think there's any law that would require that we retain photos of any member of the city council on a wall anywhere. It's just a custom and a practice of the city that we do that. And the removal of the any photograph related to any particular council member, I presume that that could be exercised by staff, but I don't think staff wants to put itself in the position of doing that, so I would say that that would have to be a determination made by the city council.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I appreciate staff putting all this together. Obviously, this council met 3 times in closed session after the judge rendered his opinion, or his ruling, excuse me. After the 3 meetings we had, we did have a lot of questions about the ruling, a lot of questions about what else as a council we can do. So we went through all that with our legal counsel. And as a result of those 3 meetings, this is what's come in front of us in the public hearing. So I'm going to start with Mayor Pro Tem Carissa Martinez.
Thank you. So the item on tonight's agenda is more than a reaffirmation of censure. The problem with the last censure is that the responsibility was put on Councilmember Lopez to take accountability, and that included mandating that Councilmember Lopez attended specialized sexual harassment training, which he refused to attend. It included prohibiting Councilmember Lopez from engaging in one-on-one communication with employees, which he continued to do, causing staff to have to be on high alert during city-sponsored events. It also included prohibiting Councilmember Lopez from attending city-sponsored events, which he has continued to do, even if the 2 city employees he harassed were present, and even if they meant they couldn't attend those events at all. 4 years of a censure that doesn't work is 4 years too long. Tonight's item reaffirms the council's disapproval of Councilmember Lopez's actions, but takes away his responsibility to account for his actions by giving him no choice in imposing administrative sanctions and actions, including a reduction in his pay in accordance with California law, the removal of continued deferred comp benefits, and the removal of auto and travel allowance. Councilmember Lopez, your actions have affected and continue to affect the employees you harassed. For the past 4 years, you've continued to attend events hosted by the Chamber of Commerce and sponsored by the city. These are events that heavily benefit from the attendance of the employees that you harassed. You have and continue to vote on items related to those employees' pay, their workplace condition, and their job duties. Councilmember Lopez, your actions have affected and continue to affect the city. You have cost the city large amounts of money. You refuse to participate in mediation. You failed to abide by the censure. You continue to expose the community to risk. You've refused to take accountability. You've refused to take a mandatory specialized sexual harassment class. Your actions have affected and continue to affect all other city employees. You've caused staff to use a substantial amount of their time on your sexual harassment investigation, lawsuits, and censure. Staff has been directed to avoid one-on-one communication with you, but you've put them in an uncomfortable position by continuing to engage in one-on-one communication with staff. And your actions affected and continue to affect your colleagues. We have dedicated so much time to this matter, so much time on the investigation, discussing your actions and the censure. We pick up the slack on your committee assignments because you can't do your job. The weight of your actions and your refusal to step down from office has affected the strength of our council and our ability to work together effectively and cordially. You need to resign and save the residents the responsibility of recalling you, and to protect the city from your continued actions. You've modified your city-issued clothing to identify yourself as honorable, but your conduct says otherwise. You need to step down, Councilmember Lopez. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's do this. I want to move for approval of Resolution D1, Resolution number 26-3509, conditionally approved. That's the wrong one, excuse me. All right, let's do this again.
Mr. Mayor, if you may hold for just a second. One of the issues that Mr. Culp does raise, and again, this is back to the photograph, he does ask that the council amend the motion in relation to the resolution to include removal of Councilmember Lopez's photograph from the wall. So if you want to do that amendment to the motion, that would be up to members of the City Council.
I did mean to address that in my statement as well. I apologize. But I would move for the amendment.
Okay. You want to make a motion then, Carissa?
Yes.
Go for it.
So I move for adoption of resolution number 26-3511, reaffirming resolution number 22-3344 with the modification that there would be an addition to remove the council member's photo from all public areas of the council chambers and otherwise throughout the city, to be read by number and title.
Okay, do I have a second to that motion? I'll second the motion. Before we go on to voting, I just want to make some comments myself. You know, Ben, obviously, we've been dealing with this issue since early of 2021, and back in April of 21, when this council met on the original censorship, and this is after we met with the investigator in closed session. Obviously, Councilmember Mendez wasn't part of that. I remember the council at the time. When we came out here, and after I heard what the investigators' conclusions were, sustaining the allegations of the two city employees, I became really concerned of the cost and the liability that this city will inflict based on this. I feel very strong that if this was to go to a court of law, that the city of Montclair, we're fighting the civil lawsuit, we will not prevail in a court of law, and so we had a huge, we have a huge liability in our hands as a result of your actions. So I ask you, probably the best thing you can do back in April of 21 is resign, and then that'll be the best interest of the city of Montclair, not the politics, not my personal feelings, the city of Montclair. And then I know that late in 2021, there was a mediation hearing with the city of Montclair, the two city employees, and yourself, where we had a court mediator to try to resolve this issue and hopefully try to reduce the city's liability. And you did not attend that mediation hearing, even though I believe the mediator did contact yourself and the attorney, I was told, but you were not present. And unfortunately, as a result of that, the city had no choice but to settle with the two city employees. What was it, $600,000, Ed? I forgot the number now.
550.
550,
Plus the
thank you.
mediator's cost, 700.
Plus the mediation cost and the, yes, exactly, and then our attorney costs have combined. So, we, already incurred those costs. And then I know that obviously this went to the Superior Court. We all know about it the first week in December. I was there as a witness. And, I think some people in the community said, let this go to the judge and let the judge decide this case, hear the merits of the case, hear from both sides. And then the court, which this was I believe they call it, even though it was a judge, it was a judge jury. Jury by the judge, I believe that's what they call it. Diane, am I correct? Is that jury?
Court trial.
Court trial, where the judge is the jury, basically. And the judge, as we all know, he rendered his decision. He sustained the lawsuits made by the employees that their allegations are real. And obviously, he also came down with financial penalties, severance pay, not severance pay. The judge came down with some severe financial penalties on yourself. Obviously, the city, part of that city will get this $550,000 back as part of the judgment, which I know that you claim in the court that you don't have the financial means to repay the city. So we are here today after 3 closed session meetings, scratching our heads. We felt in closed session, one of the biggest questions we asked ourselves, is the liability issue too, is even though we have a court judgment that's been rendered, even though we have paid the 2 city employees a settlement, it doesn't mean the liability goes away. What I'm saying is that we have city employees here, and there are city employees here who are uncomfortable. And we talked about it once. We talked about it a couple months ago, Ben, and you know how it is. You give somebody a certain look. I may think it's an innocent look. The other person will, I had a speaker up here today, maybe I was smirking, but she took it a different way. I wasn't, or a word I used, and they took it a different way. I got upset. It's not what I meant, but they took it a different way. The same thing. And you know what? We're going to call those attorneys, and we'll be right back with another lawsuit because now we have history. And, I know we're trying to protect the city's employees as much as we can. We restricted your access. No, we don't. But still, that liability is still there as long as you're a member of the city council. And then, in addition to that, the city's errors and omission, insurance company, the coverage, because of the court case, they have elected, and again, we have talked about this, Ben, along with the city manager, we had a meeting about that. They have elected that they cannot provide coverage for yourself if something were to happen and we were to get sued, and you're part of it, or you get sued again, even though, it's part of city council, and you're voting on something, and someone doesn't like what you said up here, you want to sue us, the city has to cover that bill. The errors and omission does not cover the bill. So this is not an attack, on Ben. I'm not trying to hear and attack you, and I'm not part of the recall election, the politics, I'm gonna leave it for out there. I'm just looking out for the city. We've already spent $750,000. I don't know how much staff time has gone to this. And I just, Ben, I'm just scared of the liability that we are facing with your presence in the city council. And I just feel, again, the best thing you do is to resign from the council for the best interest of Montclair. That's what I'm asking. I know you're not going to do it. I understand that, and we've talked about this. I think you told me you understand the significance of the liability of covering the city with your presence in city council. But again, there's no guarantee. We're kind of like those oil ships right now in the Strait of Hormuz. They have no insurance coverage, and they can't go that strait because of the huge risk. We're not, maybe that's not a fair comparison. We're not in the same risk factor there, but there is a risk. And, I know you're going to say, I got picked on and something happened here and somebody hacked my accounts, and I'm sure you presented that to the court of law, but that doesn't make this other issue go away, the liability issue go away. So I know you want to speak right now, so I'm going to go ahead and allow you to speak.
Point of order first, before I make my comments, Madam City Attorney. The amended motion, that is to be voted separately from the main motion, correct?
The council can first address whether they want to amend the resolution, vote on that, and then vote on
The main motion. Okay, I just wanted clarification. Thank you. First of all, I said this, I think, a month and a half ago. I know that what I say will not change people's minds. I know there are individuals upset with me and are supporting members of their family, as they should. Because if it was my family member, I'd be having the same opinion as well, or same committed action. That said, I know that what I say will not change people's opinions of me that are dead set against me. Some have been against me that are on part of the recall, not the family part of the recall, that have been against me since 2018, 2020, et cetera. I acknowledge that, Mr. Moore. And,
All right, let's just,
and I,
got the floor.
and that's fine. So I question, I look at some of the history of some of these people's opinion of me, knowing that it has been long seated before the accusations, the trial proceeded, and the judgment came down. I will clarify, because I was specifically by name called a Klan member that he is. I was not a leader of an organization at the time called Traditional Values Coalition. I was an employee that was their legislative director and analyst and their communications for a period of time. I was eventually on the outs and on the bad graces of the owners of that organization. And this is why I left them, because I had negotiated a piece of legislation with two adamantly professed gay members of the legislature, and we got a bill through bipartisanly together. I was punished for that. And eventually it led to my demise and leaving the company, because I decided it was better to work with all parties instead of fighting against them. That said, Southern Poverty Law Conference has always labeled us a hateful organization because they hated the founders of the organization. That's that. People have asked me, why do I take the position that I do? That there is more to the story, and I am not guilty of the accusations. The lawsuits were first brought out early part, maybe around this time frame of 2021. No, sorry, 2022. And shortly thereafter, they made the press, as everyone knows in the room. They read the articles, I'm sure. Shortly thereafter, I know what happened on my end because it's true and it happened. And I know folks are going to say it did not happen. I started receiving on my end threatening, actually obscene, threatening, and disorderly conduct texts from a source that had content of the case, knew specifics of the case, and were trying to blackmail me, threaten me, had some of the images of the alleged case that I know for certain I did not ever send them, because my attorneys and myself kept that city investigative report under lock and key, and it is till this day. I filed a report with the police department to document the threats, the intimidation, and the blackmail. Not one, but 3 separate search warrants were obtained by the PD from 3 different judges, and they found that there were over 21 threatening text messages sent to me from a source, a person that claimed to be going by the name of Anthony. After those warrants were handed over to PD, it was discovered that a text messaging company was being utilized by the individual on the other end that had up to 4,296 phantom numbers at his disposal, his or their disposal, from which they could send me messages. That was from one warrant. They've discovered that there were multiple Gmail accounts used to create phantom and false Facebook accounts. And the individual, Anthony, turned out to be a dead individual who another individual that the police department was able to find and identify, and I'm only going to mention their name, their first name, because I can't really reveal the other details based upon me signing the contractual agreement of the report. A gentleman by the name of Alex using fake Facebook accounts to send sexually questionable material, alleged text thread conversations, etc. So for me, I know that there is another person or persons out there, at least one now the PD found is dead, and that person's individual and identity was being used to formulate some of these messages and these dialogue. I know that that happened. I know that it was related to the case, and it was said in court it is hard to prove. We looked at the circumstances of these allegations, or we looked at the means by which we can get further information, and attorneys found that it would cost $70,000 to $80,000 to get the metadata to do some further tracking, etc. So I know that there is more to this. I know, well, let me back up. Another gentleman mentioned something about 2018, around that time frame. Used against me in that campaign was an alleged critique of an elected official that I supposedly made. And again, it was through a fraudulent Facebook account that was attributed to me that I had no control over because it didn't come from me. So there is a history and a pattern of individuals and others trying to smear me or cause dissension. I honestly believe that it's very possible that the bad actors in this regard either know myself and the employees or know the city organization and wish to cause dissension, deceit, harm, to try to smear individuals, and me primarily. Now, I have been accused of harassing residents, and that is patently false. When I was served the recall papers by Ms. Garcia, I had, under California Elections Code law, 7 days to file a statement if I chose, which I did.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, ma'am, you're out.
The law says, and I'm quoting directly, if an answer is filed, the officer shall, within 7 days after the filing of the notice of intention, also serve a copy of it by personal delivery or certified mail on one of the proponents named in the notice of intention. So, I have sworn statements that I filed with the city clerk. On February 24th, I attempted to file my response that the law says to do by procedure. And as a side note, the city clerk also sent an email stating that I could do it certified mail or in person, and not meeting those stipulations would mean that my statement was invalid. So on February 24th, I did approach the house of Al and Phyllis Ahrens at 9806 Vernon Avenue. They are on the notice of intention. I had a witness with me. We knocked on their door politely. A lady came to the door. I asked if Fred or Phyllis was there. The individual said, no, they're not. I said, may I ask when they might be returning? Said about 2 hours. I then said, okay, thank you. We'll consider coming back later at another time. We walked away. I know pictures of the Ring camera were submitted to the city clerk. If I harassed the family, show your video, because I didn't. We did not. That's patently false. We then, since Mr. and Mrs. Ahrens was not available and I had to file it that day, I then went to Mr. Robert Orontis at 9321 Del Mar Avenue. He was available, and I did serve in person the notice and have a sworn affidavit filed with the city. I also, just in case no individual was home, I filed it by certified mail to another person on the list, Miss Lisa Flamino on Howard Street. And they were all received in a timely manner, and sworn statements are filed with the city clerk. So this accusation that I'm harassing recall proponents is false. It's patently false. Again, I know that I'm not going to be able to assuage the concerns or opinions of some, and ultimately people will render their judgment at an election either in 28 or perhaps sooner. But I will.
All right, guys, maybe, if you're having a difficult time listening to this, you're welcome to go out in the lobby if you like, but he does have a right to speak, and you have your time to speak as well, so please keep your comments to yourself. Mr. Lopez.
I understand a majority of the items before you tonight are items that were adopted, I believe, in 2022, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 amendments. As I said then to city staff, to council members, council, vote your conscience and do what you must. I have always said when I first got elected to you, I even said it to Denise when she was here, that I try my best not to take any of the actions personal, because that's not what is good of any elected official in any position to do. I don't think there's anything I could say that could make anybody change their minds. I really don't. So therefore, I've said very little. For those residents that have greeted me in grocery stores, the mall, and restaurants, and expressed your support, I thank you. I appreciate it. And, I did forget one thing. I was served on the 17th, and on February 18th, I started getting more texts sent to me. And this time I alerted and made the city attorney know about them, that if they do continue, they will be submitted again to authorities. But I guess people find it funny to go ahead and pass my number around and email around and either try to create accounts and text me some things under some ghost emails or phone numbers and whatnot. But, and I know it's hard to find those individuals because they're hiding behind them, but it's easy to make threats when you're a coward and hiding behind a screen. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I will politely close.
Okay. All right, then. At this time, I'll just conclude this with Ben. Again, I'm just going to ask you to, go home, spend time, do some deep thinking, really think about all this, and really think what is in the city's best interest at the end of the day. So I'm just asking you to do that and think about everything. And now, obviously, we have talked about the liability again, Ben. I believe you understand the seriousness of it. And I hope that you honor that, stay away from the city employees, don't engage them. We have some rules in here. Please follow the rules. That's in the censorship. But at the end of the day, let's not have another lawsuit, liability. Let's make sure that we protect the city of Montclair. Okay. With that, we have a motion on the table, and can staff tell me what the motion is again, just for clarification?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, why doesn't the council consider the amending the resolution as a step one?
Okay. That'll be the first one. The amendment again is to remove pictures. Is that that's the amendment to the motion? All right, that's first and second. I'll second that motion for a vote. So we'll go ahead and vote on the amendment first.
This is the amendment to the resolution.
This would be the amendment to remove pictures.
My photo, my
Photos,
pictures
remove
everywhere.
photos.
This is to remove me from the website, pictures in City Hall.
Okay, that's adopted 4-1. All right. Okay, guys, we're still in deliberations here. So now we have the main motion. Again, the main motion is to consider adoption of resolution number 26-3511. I believe Councilmember Martinez is the maker of that motion. I'll be the second of the motion. I don't see no other speaking requests, so we'll go ahead and vote. Okay, that's also adopted 4-1. All right, thank you. So I want to go back just for clarification on a consent calendar item, Diane or Ed. This is regarding the SBCTA resolution D1, and you have some changes in here to that resolution.
Yes, there's a.
And when we made the motion, should we, I don't think we included changes in the motion. Should that take place, or is there enough directions from City Council?
Well, staff provided you with the revised resolution on the dais. So I would think.
Diane, that was a different resolution.
Oh,
that was
I'm sorry. That's right.
How about we
Yes.
do this, just to make sure it's
No,
clean?
you provided it.
I'll move for adoption of this revised resolution that was placed on the dais, we found on the dais this evening.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, that was the SBCTA revision?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, are we going back for that revision?
go back, just to make sure it's all clear, because there was a change in the resolution that was not part of our staff report or staff packet. So I'm just want to make sure that we all understand, we agree to the changes to the resolution, excuse me. So I'll make a motion that we just adopt item D1 with the changes to the resolution. Can I get a second?
No, I hit my button.
before that, can I get a second to my motion?
I'll second.
All right, second by Martinez. Go ahead, Ben.
Mr. Mayor, we just got this, the information was sitting here at 7 p.m. I have not had a thorough opportunity to review the paragraphs in yellow that are the changes. I would prefer, I intend to abstain and lay off, just given the Gold Line SBCTA Measure I issue and its potential further actions in other means in courts. I will be abstaining on this particular amended report.
So
Okay.
if I may just add clarification to the matter. So it is actually addressed in the agenda report. The agenda report is quite clear that it simply states that after the resolution had been prepared, SBCTA had amended the fact sheet related to projects for Montclair. And in the amendment to the fact sheet, the agenda report says that they removed the Gold Line project from the City of Montclair fact sheet. They did that without consultation with the City of Montclair, which I found very concerning because, in fact, the fact sheet was developed by the City of Montclair, and SBCTA had no right to alter or change the fact sheet without consulting the City of Montclair. I simply failed to carry over that comment about what SBCA did into the resolution. So the resolution is only amended to reflect the same thing that the agenda report already specifies, that SBCTA amended the Montclair project's fact sheet without consulting with the City of Montclair. And therefore, if you read the agenda report, then you already are familiar with what I did add today into the resolution.
So there's no substantive changes to the statements and positions then in the overall resolution?
That is correct.
Okay. It's on record.
Well, then, is there a need for a vote then, Diane, on this, or is it pretty clear?
I would go ahead and vote now.
Okay, let's vote.
Just out of an
Okay,
abundance
let's
of
vote.
caution.
All right, we're going to vote. All right, that's approved. Okay, communications, Human Service Department. Do you have anything? Go ahead, make it short.
I have a quick item. I just want to invite everyone to our city's Easter extravaganza and pancake breakfast. It's
Okay.
scheduled to take place Saturday, April 4th from 9 to 11, Alma Hoffman Park in the Community Center. The extravaganza will include games, activities, Easter eggs, and candy for children 10 years and younger. And children are invited to bring their own baskets from home to win candy-filled eggs as game prizes. The Easter Bunny will arrive and pose for photos, $3 per photo or $1 if you take it with your own camera or telephone, and it's cash only. And the pancake breakfast is provided by the Ontario Montclair Kiwanis Club. They'll offer 2 pancakes, 2 sausages, and a juice while supplies last. That's also cash only, and it's only $5. And we hope everyone joins us. We also want to thank our sponsors. Besides the city, we have the Women's Club of Montclair, Kiwanis Club of Ontario Montclair, the MPOA, and our Montclair Firefighters Association.
Thank you.
And there's flyers on the counter here if anybody needs them.
I should be there. Thank you. City Attorney.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As indicated in the agenda, I have a few items for closed session. The first category is actually it's one potential case pursuant to 54956.9D2 of the Government Code. Number 2 is also just one case pursuant to 54956.9D4 of the Government Code. And then there's a request that we discuss 5 different pending litigation matters. Ramirez versus Montclair, Fuentes Garcia versus Lopez and Montclair, Ibanez versus Montclair, Kresbach versus Montclair, and Young versus Montclair.
Thank you.
Other than that, that's it.
Thank you. City Manager, anything? Mayor, I have nothing. City Council members, you have anything quick you'd like to bring up? Anybody?
Yes, go ahead, but Bill was going to.
I will, tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to those who do celebrate it, which is probably just about everybody. Gold Line, we've heard a little bit tonight. We continue to move forward with this. Recently, I was in Sacramento. I'll keep it very short. It was for a work-related meeting, but legislator after legislator said their strong support for the Gold Line, the people who represent both counties. There's, overlap of districts, so that was positive. And then in recognition of International Women's Month, a piece of American history, recent, Mary Wells Lawrence, the CEO of an advertising firm, in 1969, so not that long ago, became the first woman CEO of a Wall Street company. So think of all those years Wall Street existed. It took until 1969 for a woman CEO to be represented. And now it's fairly commonplace.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Just want to acknowledge a post posted by the Montclair Police Department stated that recently, after hearing some input from public comments about Saratoga Park, their special enforcement team was successful in abating some criminal activity, where they recently were successful in possessing 2 guns on 2 separate incidents and occasions. So I wanted to give kudos to Montclair PD for being proactive and on the ball and trying to secure one of our most widely used parks. I know it's Little League season, so Saratoga Park is used widely. So thank you for that. It's very much appreciated. To members of the public, if you see anything at Saratoga Park, do not hesitate to call 911 and get Montclair PD. Don't even think that it might be minute or insignificant. Just report it. This coming Thursday, March 19th, from 5 to 7 p.m., Thursday the 19th from 5 to 7 p.m., the Chino Basin Water Conservation District, located on San Bernardino Street between Ramona and Helena, are having their open house and student showcase. There will be raffles, prizes, drawings by the kids on water conservation and proper or wiser use of water will be there. So please, if you're able, attend and support Chino Basin Water Conservation District. And then just as a side note, I just wanted to state that for me personally, when it comes to the immigration issue, as I stated maybe 2-3 months ago, I have worked, or not necessarily worked, but have contacts after meeting with the Mexican Consul General, working with their staff, for to help 2 families that have an illegal status or maybe a questionable status, or their documentation has lapsed. Got them in contact with the appropriate sources so they can get all that information up to date, so that way if they're stopped, there's a less likelihood chance of them getting picked up. That's the worst I could do right now, is to help families that are in need of it to try to get with the consulate so they can help get their paperwork right, updated, or even renewed, or even apply initially in the first place. That is it, Mr. Mayor.
All right, anybody else on my left, anything to say real fast?
Yes,
No?
please. So
Go ahead.
we heard from members of our community earlier that we're not addressing an issue in our community that affects every single one of us. So I move for an item to be placed on the agenda to discuss Montclair's response to ICE in our city, including but not limited to discussion of and a staff recommendation relating to creating a fund for families in our city affected by immigration enforcement and the kidnapping of our residents and workers, an analysis and discussion regarding our contracts with companies that share data with ICE, a ban on ICE staging on public land, and other actions that may be taken to protect our residents and take a stand against ICE's illegal and deadly actions in our city. Now, I understand due to time restrictions of the preparation of an agenda, this might be difficult to place on our next agenda, but I would argue that this it constitutes an urgent situation, and I do hope that we can get that placed on the next agenda, whether it's within our next agenda packet or by emergency means or otherwise.
Okay, for clarification, the next agenda is already done.
Oh, geez, okay. Then it'll have to be by emergency.
This will, well, that would be up to the council, but
Right.
otherwise, this will not appear before you until the second meeting in April at the earliest.
That is my motion. Thank you.
Is there a second to that motion? Hearing none? No? Is there a second to the motion? No? I want to ask that, I'll make a motion that we ask staff to provide us a report on the immigration issues and what can cities do to better deal with the enforcement. I know we've done some stuff already. I know the police department is not able to get involved in immigration enforcement. That could be part of the report as an education piece. I'm interested to see what the city of Pomona is doing, what they have done there in the city of Pomona, what some other cities have done. Perhaps some stuff we can do as well. But I would like to see if we just put together a report from staff and then present that in our inbox, email, whatever the case may be, and we all have a copy of it so we can get ourselves educated on the issue.
Right, and we'll put something together, but do be advised that most of the agencies that you refer to merely prescribe with and comply with what is already in state law. They don't really have the authority to implement new laws that supersede or circumnavigate around what state or federal law is. What these cities have done is, for example, create the fund to provide legal assistance or some other forms of assistance to members of the public. Beyond that, they comply with state law. I do understand that there are some new state laws that I'm reviewing right now that I can address with the council as part of this fulsome response. But in addition to that, a couple of months ago in the City Managers Monthly, the city, as far as I know, we're the only city that has done that. We provided a comprehensive discussion related to what individuals' rights are in relation to interactions with ICE and provided referrals to a number of links that produced copies of these rights in, I think, as many as 30 different languages. So we are taking a positive action, and I believe the Chief of Police has addressed the council in the past regarding the city's ability, or specifically the police department's ability, to deal with ICE, and particularly in relation to any information that ICE seeks of the police department. They only cooperate when there is a warrant related to an individual who is already in custody and is being released. But beyond that, the police department does not cooperate with ICE.
Okay, but again, just if we can put together a report to educate us on this issue, what other cities are doing. One question too is, city property. City property should not be used for enforcement activity. So if you can put together a report, educate us on it, and provide us a report at a future date. And can I get a second to the motion? I got a motion by Councilmember Rue, and we'll go ahead and vote on the motion to direct staff. Okay, that's adopted 4 with 1 abstention. Okay, that matter is done with, and at this time, we're going to go to closed session.